Engine 1 from Car 1. Car 1's on scene. If you've been command, give me a C.A.N report.
What's going on, everybody? This is Mike Goldstein. Stickers to the C.A.N report. Nozzle Tov, everybody. I have a wicked special guest today. I have retired Captain Pete Franggos from Manchester Fire Department. Man, this is a treat, an honor. I am proud to have him on the show. This is Salty Jake, everybody. This is the man. No, he's gonna be wicked humble. I know he's gonna say no, but anybody who knows who Cap is gonna disagree and say no. He is the man. So, Pete Franggos, retired captain from Manchester Fire, 39 years, and we got him on the show. We've been working back and forth, trying to make our schedules finally meet up, and it finally happened. He played a round of golf, and then he took a shower and got on the show here with me. So I'm happy to have him. Cap, thank you so much for being on the C.A.N report, my friend.
Mike, thank you for having me. Again, as you said, we were playing tag for a while, and I was glad that we were finally able to lock down a time, and it's an honor to be here. It really is.
The honors, dude. The honors all mine, Cap. Like I said, it's for people who don't know. Before I get in your bio, I saw Cap walking. This was like a couple months before you retired. I was at the Elliott dropping off a patient, and you'd happen to be walking through the halls of the ER with your guys, and it was like a Godfather type of moment, like seeing you. Seeing the Cap there, and you got two young bucks right, on each side of you, and your swagger through the hall was just, I'm like, as soon as you walked past me, you gave me a cool, like, hey, what's up, man? I'm like, hey, what's going on, Cap? And you didn't know who I was, and I didn't actually really know who you were. And it was just a brief moment. And I looked over, and I saw you walking down the hall. I went, man, I got to talk to this guy.
Yeah, that old guy.
I gotta have this guy on my show. Wow. He is everything that the way you look, the swagger, the respect, everything that we talk about, you embody. And I knew I had to have you on the show to learn more about you, so everybody else can find out more about Captain Frangos. So I do really appreciate you being on the show, Cap, because it means a lot, not just to me, but a lot of people that you've been in touch with, a lot of people you worked with, that you mentored, that you helped to grow. This is the thing that I want, is for people in our state to know about our firefighters, to know about our seasoned employees, to know about the people who retired out, and who we kind of want to emulate after they're gone. So you're one of those guys. So Cap, thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it, and the respect is mutual.
I appreciate it, sir.
I was just brought up on this job that anybody that wears the uniform, they put their socks on the same way I do every morning. And I have mutual respect for you and everybody else who puts on a uniform and does what we do. You do us a great service. So I really appreciate it. So Captain Frangos retired.
He had 39 years complete with the city of Manchester, 37 with Manchester Fire, 30 of those years on the heavy rescue as a firefighter, lieutenant, and captain. He's born and raised in Manchester. Married with 4 kids. His oldest son, Jet, is on the job in Manchester as well. He got appointed December 1st, and the Cap is super, super pumped about that. Yeah. Hobbies is his family, golfing and fishing, and that's it. That's his bio, guys. So, Cap, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Naps. I'm old enough now where I enjoy my naps in the afternoon, a little 45-minute power nap somewhere. It just, I do it home now as opposed to doing it on a job. Like what our lives are like. Some days are good and some days are adventurous at the firehouse. The nights can be brutal.
Yeah.
It was weird. Over the years, I've learned to sleep anywhere at any time. My friends who are not in the fire service, when I go away on vacation with them, they're like, "What's wrong with you, dude?" I'm like, "Nothing. I'm just catching some things,
man.
Just preparing for later on." And they're like, "What's later on?" I go, "I don't know. I never know what's going to happen." But
I love a good nap. I definitely will not turn a good nap down. When I feel that coming on and I'm at home, my wife knows, and it's cool. Like, she's like, yeah, take a nap. Obviously you're tired. You had 4 get-ups after midnight. Go crash. So So you retired, you said in April, correct?
Yeah, April 1st.
April 1st, April Fools. But it was
Yeah.
no joke. You retired April
No, it
1st.
was no joke. It took me a while to get there. I started thinking about it about 3, 4 years ago. And again, I don't know whether it was, my mind working on me, where my body working on me. I had a medical emergency a year ago, June. I wasn't feeling good. Uh, but and it was out of the ordinary. I would take the laundry basket from the basement, go upstairs, and I'd be out of breath. And Shannon's like, "Listen, what's wrong with you? You're not yourself." And I said, "All right, I'll call the doc." I called my doc. He was lucky enough to get me in for a stress test. Like the following day, I ended up going to the Elliott. I saw a cardiologist, John Katab, and I took a stress test. He comes out. He goes, "I got good news and bad news." I said, "Oh, okay, what's the bad news?" He goes, "You flunked the stress test with flying colors." I said, "Okay, what's the good news?" He goes, "I'm going to have you down in Boston within 12 hours." And I'm like, wait, what's going on? What's going on? I ended up having 3 blocked arteries,
Wow.
2 at 100%, 1 at 95. I ended up, I said, "Well, doc, can we use blood thinners? Can we use stents? Can we, you know, use other means of, modern technology, medicine?" He goes, "Well," he said, I'm gonna bring you in tomorrow for what they call a ventricular catheterization. I believe that's the term that they use, and they don't fully put you out. I remember being on a table. They give you a Benadryl and something else, and I remember hearing the doc say, "You know what? Okay, I've seen enough." And when I came out of it, I go, "Doc, was I hearing things? Did you say you've seen enough?" He said, "Yeah." He goes, "Pete," he goes, "you need open heart surgery."
Mm.
So I ended up having open heart surgery last year, June 12th, uh, which just changed everything. I'm like, oh God, to be honest with you, Mike, I didn't even know if I was going to survive it.
Wow.
Um, and it was, it just puts things in perspective. I remember the night before the surgery, uh, I was down at Brigham and Women's. I was there for like 8 days. I had other things going on. They had to get my blood pressure down, this and that, before I could go under the knife. And the doc comes in and he goes, "Okay," it was a Sunday night. He goes, "Okay, we're going to do it tomorrow." He says, "Part of my team's coming in. Going to talk to you, this, and this." I said, "Okay." And I'm just lying in bed, and all of a sudden a priest walks in, and I go into fireman mode. I'm like, "Father, what's going on? Somebody fall out of bed? You need help?" He goes, "No, no, 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 no." He goes, "Sit down." He goes, "Can I talk to you about a few things?" And I said, "Sure." I go, "What are you here for?" He goes, "I'm here for you."
Hmm.
I go, "What?" He goes, "Kid, you're not going in for shoulder surgery." He goes, "You're going in for open heart surgery." And it really struck a nerve. And, he's like, "You got everything in order at home and this and that." And I'm like, wow, wow.
Hmm.
And I did, I prepared myself, but knock on wood, I got out of it. Um, recovery took me about 3 months. I was out of work for about 3 months. Came back light duty in September, and then I believe I went back on the line full time sometime in the middle of October. So, um,
Wow.
so the only thing I can tell you is listen to your body. I don't care how old you are, whether you're 59 like me, 25, 35, 45. If something's going on with your body for a couple of days, there's something wrong. But what we do is we self-diagnose.
Yep. Dr.
So,
Google.
yeah, I'll take care of it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. If it's our kids or our spouse, we get them in a car and we take them to the ER right away. But I was lucky, my doc helped me out. My personal doctor, he saved my life by setting up those tests. And honestly, Mike, it just wasn't my time.
No, definitely not.
I got a second lease on life, and I'm going to try to take full advantage of it.
So is that something that was predisposed in your genetics? Like,
It was a genetic gene that was stirred up by the job.
Okay. So can you
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit more on that? Stirred up by the job. What do you mean?
Stress related. I'll be brutally honest with you. I've been going through some testing for stress related PTSD. I started working with a company called Forge. It's for first responders, veterans.
Yeah.
They have
a weekend getaway. They do, right?
Yeah, Camp Resilience. I went there. I just went. I went right when I retired. Week after I retired, I went up there. We have what we call badge meetings every Wednesday night. It's run by Sean Kilbreth, who's a retired police officer. He worked for Bedford for many years. Then he worked for DEA, and I've met some of the greatest guys I've ever met in my life. A lot of these guys are medically retired and stuff like that. And you find out that stress is the same. It's the same for all of us. It just comes in different shapes, sizes, colors, stories. What I'm trying to do without becoming overbearing, I joined a peer support team for Manchester Fire. I'm in the process of getting the one. I have one more certification that I have to get, and I'll be able to take part of debriefings and stuff.
That's great.
Which it sounds crazy, but I feel like I'll still have skin in the game, Mike. If that means anything,
Absolutely.
I'm doing some work with Sean Kilbreth, helping him out. I've gone to a couple of seminars with him. We just did one yesterday, talking to some veterans. And I just give them my experiences and what I'm feeling. And I can tell you, when I first got on the job many, many, many moons ago, you never thought about this stuff. You never thought about PTSD. You never complained. You never said, "Hey, can we talk about this call?" If I mentioned something back in the mid 80s that, hey, this call bothered me, I'd be transferred within 2 hours. They would have thrown my ass out and said, okay, this kid can't take it.
Yeah.
Never mind speaking about it. I didn't think about it. I'm like, all right, these guys got ESP. They know what I'm thinking, And I had the pleasure of working with some of the coolest cats that I've ever met in my life. These guys were Vietnam vets, Korean vets. One guy, Walter Zedon, Captain Walter Zedon. He was a World War II vet.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got on a job and he retired like a month later, but I was able to work a couple of shifts with him at Truck One downtown. And I was like, man, just to listen to this guy, what a book of knowledge that he had. And I paid a lot of attention to what they said. There were times that I was like a llama. I'd stray from the pack, and they'd pull me in and, hey, kid, you're a good fireman. You're going to be here for 1,000,000 years. Get your head out of your ass and do what you're supposed to do. I was a typical young kid when I was on the job. Thought I knew it all, but didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything. So getting back to, the PTSD and stuff, it's the biggest lesson that I've learned. And I'm not ashamed to say it. It's okay to be vulnerable. it's okay to say, hey, you got a second? Let's just talk about this
Yeah.
thing. Because if not, you're going to end up like a dented can, like I am. I look at it as I got a backpack full of rocks, and each rock has so many stories. And in our line of work, a lot of it's not good. And you just put it in there and put it in there, and you just put it behind you. But eventually, it just starts coming out. One of the kids asked me that before I left. They're like, Cap, how do you feel? I said, I feel like I'm frozen, and I'm just starting to thaw out. And when you start to thaw out, you start thinking about things. Things come up where, it's crazy where a call that I did 25 years ago all of a sudden pops into my head, and I'm like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
So for the young firefighters out there, do not be ashamed and do not be afraid to ask for help. You have to stay ahead of it. If you want to live a healthy life, physically and mentally, you have to. You don't want to end up on an operating table like I did.
And so did they tell you that a lot of the stress that was related to the job contributed to these cardiac issues?
This is what caused it. Stress from the job. Yeah.
Well, it's because you definitely seem like you're a pretty fit dude. So, were you eating?
I try to, but I like everybody else, I don't do what I'm supposed to do. Like the doc says, he goes, you're guilty of life's two pleasures. I said, what's that? He goes, sugar and salt.
Oh, man, I love those.
Yeah, I go, guilty, guilty. He goes, moving forward, he calls them throws with the salt. He goes, don't tell a story when you're salting your food. 2 throws.
You're just because I know you love to talk, so you're talking and you're just.
I'm trying to get people to look away. They're like, Jesus Christ, look at all the salt he's putting on. And it was funny. My cardiologist, John Katab, we become good friends over this. He's my age, and he says, he goes, I want you to try this salt alternative. It's called New Salt, NUSALT. I go, you got to give me something else. This doesn't work. And he's like, come on, you got to give it a shot. I go, just give me plan B. I tried that New Salt. It lasted like 2 days. I threw it in the garbage. I sent him a picture on his cell phone, and he sent me back, you're a retard. He goes, remember, 2 throws and done. So that's all I'll do. I'll take the salt and I'll just, and the sweets, I'm guilty, but I don't do it that often. I probably do it once a week now, have a piece of cake here and there.
See, candies, that's what gets me. I love me some sweets. I'll sniff them out. Twizzlers are my favorite. If anyone's listening, Twizzlers are my favorite. So send me a care package of that.
Absolutely.
So you got your kid on the job.
Yep.
Jet. I know a little bit about him. He was on in Auburn as a call member. Yep. And he did some ride time on my department.
Nice.
And he's just a solid kid. You could tell he had a great upbringing and, somebody who obviously done something right and showed him the way. And now he's kind of picking up where you left off.
Yeah, I can't explain how good I feel inside and how proud I am of him. He worked hard. Some of the exams that you guys have to take now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these EMTAs, paramedics, this and that. To be honest with you, I don't know if I could do it, Mike. I'd have to lock myself in a room for 6 months. And
you and me too, Cap. Like I obviously, being on the department I'm on, that we're very pro EMS and we're very proud of it. Which is, there's nothing wrong with it. I just know that I can never be a medic. I can't cram anything more into my head. And at this time in my life, there's so much other stuff going on.
Absolutely.
And like you said, it's back in the day, I definitely feel like it was a little bit easier to get your medic. Like the medicine wasn't as far as advanced, and so was the technology. It was, put the pads on, help see what the heart's doing, and if it's telling you to do something, you just push the button. But now there's all these different drugs and
Oh my God.
techniques, and I my hat's off to all the medics out there. You guys are amazing. I can't do it. I don't have the brain power for it. So kudos to all you medics out there.
Yeah, well, it was nice. My last couple of years, I worked out of Engine 5 on Webster Street, and my crew was Chris Bouchard and Mark Brightman, and Chris is an A and Mark is a medic, and it was insane. You know, we'd go to calls, and the only time the last year and a half, I'd get involved if it was a code. Other than that, they'd like, Cap,
We got
get the
this.
name. Get the name and address. I'm like, yeah, but just like, no, just get the gift. But if it was a code, I was either jumping in the back of the meat wagon or driving the ambulance or driving a pump to the hospital and stuff. But I was lucky. These two guys, they took such good care of me. I said the only regret that I have is that I don't have another 5 years to spend with you guys.
Yeah.
And when I got done, we just went to the fourth guy because we became an ALS engine, and Engine 5 became a 4-man company. And I was like, oh, I wish I could be here for 4 guys. That fourth guy,
Right? Holy cow.
That fourth guy makes a world of difference, you know, especially when you have a young crew.
Yeah.
We pulled up to some good fires, and I would tell, you know, whoever, whether it was Chris or Mark, I'd say, okay, just drag the line to the front door, wait for me. I'd do my 360. I'd yell to the pump driver, you good? You get your water? Yep. Okay. And whoever was on the play with me, I said, all right, this is going to hurt a little bit, but it's going to be the coolest thing you've ever experienced, you know? And if you pee your pants, you know, you had a good time. And we go in, and again, they took good care of me.
That's awesome,
Really
Cap.
awesome.
So then, did you spark that fire inside a jet to join the service? I imagine with your history.
I actually think his first words were fire truck before or mom, you know.
And you were saying he's definitely more, you feel like he's more into it than you are.
I think because at my age now, I think when I was his age, I was into it as much as he was. You know, he's, he just got out of work. He worked yesterday and last night. He worked his 24 hours. And I missed him this morning, but I sent him a text. I go, how was it? He goes, oh, we did like 4 or 5 calls. We had a couple of codes, this and that and this. And I go, you good? He goes, I'm good. He goes, I'll talk to you tonight. And he tells me about all the calls. And what I tell him, I said, buddy, I said, you're young. I go, if I could change anything, I would journal. I would journal every day. Just write down. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Write down the address, write down what you had, and write your feelings.
Yeah.
And you see how you progress as years go by, you know, and what bothers you, what doesn't bother you.
I love that you say that, because my father-in-law, that was a big thing. He told me as well as I started getting onto the job, and he repeated that multiple times. Make sure you're writing it down. Write down your first fire. Write down all your fires, and just keep a journal so you can look back, like you said. So you're looking back and you can see the growth. You can see what you learned, what you could have done better.
Exactly.
And you're also, like, without having to tell them, you're getting them to self-reflect. So as they're journaling things down, that's where you get to put your feelings on paper, and you could talk about how you felt in that call. You can talk about what you could have done better, or how things could have been improved. You know, especially if you're a newer guy, you don't want to say, you know, you're not going to tell the old bucks like, hey, you know, this could have been better. We could have done that, because sometimes it doesn't get treated so well. But you write that down so you don't forget. So then when you get a little more experience, you can say, hey, I remember 3 years ago, I wrote this down. I think we should try it, and, you know, maybe it'll work. But you're right there, Cap. Like, a journal is really key in a world of technology. having that pen to paper is really, really key. It's one thing that
It
we
is.
should continue to do in life is journal through our life and see where we are in 50 years from now.
Yeah, it would, you do it for so many different reasons, and it'll help you reflect back on where you were, what you did. I wish I would have did it, but I didn't. But the biggest thing that I tell my son, I said, he'll say like, Pop, we had this smudge and I screwed up. I did this, this, and this. I said, well, just because it didn't work on this fire, that doesn't mean it's not going to work on the next fire.
Right.
Unless you really, really go out of your way to screw up, you go through you have a baseline of things, your 4 or 5 things that you got to do when you arrive on the scene, with your team, your crew, however you want to call it. And listen, it's so unpredictable. The goal is, and I preach to them all the time, and I preach to young kids. I say the goal here is to keep damage to a minimum. And I after a certain age, I got to a point where I don't care about buildings, I don't care about automobiles, I don't care about it. I care about you guys.
Yeah.
I care about you. You guys come first, and the people we serve. They can always rebuild, unless we totally bleep this scene up, we're going to be okay. But again, what you do one day, you can have a cookie cutter fire. You roll up, fire showing, one room and contents. You're in and out of there in an hour. The next day you have it, and nothing goes right. You got a dead hydrant. You got this. You got that. You got this. You got that. And there's so many things that come into play. And again, the key is just to keep damage to a minimum. But as long as you guys are okay, we've succeeded.
Absolutely.
We've succeeded. And it's important. One of the biggest things that I was taught, it's important to let these guys know that you care about them so much, and that they have a purpose. Get them involved. We'd go. I remember when I got a couple of guys at Engine 5, brand new. They came from other departments that weren't that busy, and they're like, Cap, we're nervous. We're going to have this fire. If we have this, I go, listen, I give you my word. You're going to be okay. As long as I'm working, there isn't anything that's going to hurt you. And it was a Sunday afternoon. Both of their first exposures to fire was a dumpster fire. So it was a Sunday afternoon. It was like, this happened, I think this was like 3 years ago. It's behind a business. Dumpster's fully involved. As we're pulling up, there's a hydrant right on the corner. I go, stop the pump. They're like, what? I go, stop the pump. I go, we're going to lay in. They're like, what? I go, we're going to lay in. You're going to take the bumper line off. We'll use the bumper line, but I want you to treat this like a building fire. Fire's not going anywhere. It's in a dumpster. It's fully involved. It may be out before we even put water on it. But I want you to get into the habit of seeing what you're going to see. You're going to see fire, and you want to see how these guys react.
Yeah.
We laid in 100 feet of 5-inch. I said, okay. I told the pump driver, make sure he backs you up. Make sure you got water flowing. And then my plate man ran back from the hydrant. I said, all right, grab the bumper line, put the fire on. I go, one of these times we're going to pull up, and this is going to be this dumpster is going to be a 3-decker.
Yeah.
But you're going to go through the same steps. We're going to stop at the hydrant. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. So just small things like that.
Reps.
And every time we'd have a dumpster fire after, they're like, Cap, we laying in? We go, let's find a plug somewhere. And if we could, we would. And it's just to get them into the habit to get through these steps.
Absolutely. One step ahead.
Yeah, and try to stay focused. Just small little things like that was taught to me years ago.
Giving it back. I love it, Cap. I was just going to ask you that too. So you've already answered the question. I was going to ask you, like, what are some things that you've learned in your almost 40 years in the job?
Yeah,
Like,
just I I'm going to speak like a firefighter now, Mike.
okay, I'm ready for it. Let's do
And
it.
I'm going to be brutally honest. Rule number one: don't forget where you came from.
I'm going to write these down. Hold on a second. Don't go too fast for me.
No, you know.
Rule number one. Okay.
Do not ever forget where you came from.
Okay.
Talk to everybody in the firehouse, whether he's senior man or junior man. I remember one of my incident commanders back then. His name was Chief Frank Monley. We used to call him district chiefs back then. I didn't think he remembered my name, and he'd come up to a fire. I had a couple years on a job. He goes, "Pete, how you doing?" And I go, "Me, Chief?" "Yeah." He goes, "How you doing? You okay? You drinking enough water?" I go, "Yeah, Chief, I am. I'm good. Do you need anything?" He goes, "No, I just want to make sure you're okay." And he gave me a tap on the shoulder and walked by, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's Chief Monley. He knows my name." But he made me feel like I was part of the team. He wanted me to be part of the team. And I remember him taking me in when Merrimack and Pine, 333 Pine burned, my first deceased. I'd come back on a third alarm, and we had lost 2 civilians, and he was a district chief of that fire, and there was so much brass around. I'd come out of the building after a couple of bottles, and he looks at me and he gives me the fingers and he goes, "Hey, come here." I walked over. I go, "Chief, what do you need?" He goes, "Change your bottle." He says, "You're coming in with me." He goes, "I got to go in there." I said, "Okay, what are we doing?" He goes, "Just go change your bottle and come back." And I told my officer, I said, "Chief Molly wants me to go with him." And they're like, "Yep, go ahead." And I walked in, and unfortunately, there was a deceased person in the room. And he goes, "Have you ever seen anything like this?" And I never did. And it didn't even look like a person, And he goes, "Okay, here's the person. Here's where the fire started. Here's how it went up, and this and that." And I'm like, we're in the middle of a 3-alarm fire. It was under control at the time, but this guy is taking the time to teach me. I got like 2.5, 3 years on the job. At the time, I didn't know whether it was Tuesday or August. And I'm pretty sure it was neither of them. But you're like, wow, this guy cares.
Yeah.
Cares. And I think that's the biggest thing that I try to pass on is just everybody is the same. We're all the same, man. We all do the same job. And when we go to fires, especially like when I was on the rescue, we'd come out, and I always made sure, I told my crew, I said, "We're not leaving here till every piece of hose is picked up. All the ladders are put back." On the rescue, we had no hoses or ladders, but the sooner we all get this done, the sooner we can all go back.
Yeah.
I tried to preach like we were one, not individuals.
Absolutely.
And just be nice, just be kind to somebody. You don't know the demons that they're battling. You don't know what kind of day they had. If you got a guy who's usually even plateau and all of a sudden he's off, it's your job to find out what's going on with him, because there's something going on with him. And in our line of work, and I know it's everywhere, once there's blood in the water, the sharks come out.
Yeah.
And I tried not to do that. I would say, "Hey, I don't want to pry, but I want you to know I'm here. If you want to talk about something, you're just not yourself." And you got to find out. And there were times where, my kid is sick, he's in a hospital, or I'm having some marital problems, or my father is sick, or my mother is sick, and that's when you step up and say, okay, what can I do for you? Let's make this as painless as possible for you, and because it was done to me.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays sometimes you don't see that. um, I think a lot of people are out for themselves, and you can't do this job by yourself. No way.
No.
You get
So
hurt.
with that, did you, in your time, and you've had a lot of people show you the right way, have you had people show you the wrong way? Have
Oh,
you had people,
absolutely.
have you
That's
had,
what
have you
one
had
of the
shitty
reasons.
leaders?
Yeah, one of the reasons why I took the promotional exams, because I said I don't want to work for this guy anymore. You know, um, and whether the guy was in that position because of politically appointed, or this or that, or you want to test a man's character, give him a little authority. If you ever remember anything the old man tells you, remember that. You want to test a man's character, give him a little authority and see how he uses that, you know? And there are people that use their authority for the wrong reasons, all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these people are gone. I worked for a lot of them 30 plus years ago. Uh, Manchester Fire has a good bunch of guys that are running the show now. I'm really proud of those guys. I worked with all of them. A lot of them worked for me, or I like to say we worked together.
Yeah.
They used to say, Cap, I'm in this position because listen, dude, we worked together. You didn't work for me. We worked together.
Mm-hmm.
And just guys like my son, talk to them, ask them how they're feeling after a call, after a fire. Hey, kid, you okay? How do you feel? And one of the biggest things that I talked to Jed about, I said, I want you to tell me every step you did on the fire ground. He goes, Dad, I can't remember it all. I said, good. That means you are focused.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you can't, how many fires have you gone to, Mike, where your brain is telling your body to do something, but you've already done it?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I got to slow down a second here. Slow down, take a deep breath.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's kind of crazy. And I've always told the younger guys now, I said, your first fire, you ain't going to remember shit. Because your head's gonna be spinning around, and you're not gonna realize all the things that you just did within 5 minutes of getting off the truck, stretching the line, going inside, putting water on the fire. The only thing you remember is the overhaul.
Yep, exactly.
Because that's tedious. Exactly. So you're going to remember that part. You're going to remember some fire, but you guarantee you're not going to remember how you actually got there and what you did when you put it out.
Nothing.
So it's an amazing experience as you progress in it to be able to slow it down. And I talked with somebody else about this, because we are athletes, and professional athletes are playing football or baseball. They're able, as they progress, they're able to see that ball slow down. They're able to see that whole field now slow down, so they can actually pick out what they need to do, as opposed when they're rookies, that ball is flying into their face at 90 miles an hour, and they don't know whether to go left, right, forward, back. But then once they get that experience, they can see that ball coming, and they can make 500 decisions before that ball ever comes over the plate. So it's really impressive how we do the same thing with that experience. But like you said, be able to tell the younger guys, this is what you're going to experience, and we're going to help you through it. And before you know it, you're going to remember everything that you just did on that fire. The first one is going to be super fast. The next one, you'll start to slow things a little bit down. You'll start to see a bigger picture. And like you said, when you had that chief bring you in and show you fire behavior, show you, the investigation part of it, about looking at the deceased and looking at the V pattern of where the fire might be. Those are things that not everyone gets the luxury of either. Like usually everything's so fast paced, especially when it's a big fire, when you have multiple fatalities. They don't let you in there to actually see what happened and what to look for an investigation. And I love that your chief was able to give you that moment, and then you were able to pass it on and let other people remember these are the things you need to look for.
And I think the other biggest thing is, I was telling the young kids at the end, they're like, Cap, I can't remember anything that I did on a fire ground. And I say, listen, that's normal. It's okay to feel like that. It really is. If you're not feeling that, then okay, we got to talk about a few things.
Yeah.
You know, um, I stress a lot about situational awareness, where we were in the building. I was fortunate enough to be on the heavy rescue for so many years, and I've worked side by side with some of the coolest dudes ever. Guys like Tommy DeFina, Matt Lamoth, Stevie Barton, Keith Gelinas, Nicky Poulin, Adam Langlois. And
I love Adam.
Adam's the best.
I took Swiftwater with Adam, just on a side note, and the both of us were like cats out of water. Like, we did not want to be swimming, and we're both pretty nervous.
I had many fires with Adam, but we had one, I don't even know how long ago it was, maybe 10 years ago, 10 years ago on 7th Ave, where unfortunately I ended up calling a Mayday. It was me, Tommy, Nikki, and Adam. And I can remember Adam briefly pulling me out. And he's like yelling, "You're on fire, you're on." And I'm looking at this guy. I'm on my back, and he was fully involved himself. And he's pounding me, and he's like, "Cap, you're on fire." And I'm like, holy shit, this kid's burning, and he's worried about me.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was a day that you try to forget, but it happens. You never want to put yourself in that situation. You never think it's going to happen, but again, situational awareness. You got to figure out where you are in. Again, I used to like Tommy DeFina, one of my best friends. One of the bravest dudes I've ever met. We'd be crawling and we'd do our primary, and then I'd say, "Tommy, where are we?" And he'd be like, "Standing next to you, Pete." Where are we in the building? And he'd be like, "Okay, north, no, south. Okay, maybe," and, just things like that. Always remember, like I always would tell my district chief, I worked for a guy, Vinny Tolan, one of the greatest incident commanders that I've ever had. And I always made sure, rescue A to command, chief, we're entering A side front door. Always told him which way I was entering. And he would always relay, fire alarms, you get that? Rescue's entering A side front door. So that would be our last known in case something went wrong, And then he retired, and I worked under a guy named Jimmy Michael, brilliant guy, brilliant firefighter, great incident commander. Same thing. Jimmy came out of the rescue, got promoted to district chief. So I was lucky. I worked with some great guys that cared about us.
Were you always did you always want to be in the rescue? Did you choose that?
So when I got on, it wasn't in service. It went in service 6 months after I got on the job. I got on a job in March of '88, and then I think either July or August, it went into service, and I was like, wow, this is cool, because I was working at Engine 11 under Vinny Tolan. Vinny was the captain at the time, and my lieutenant was Bob Corbio, who was one of my greatest mentors growing up. Bobby was a lieutenant, and then the rescue went into service in '88, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool over there. And then, the stigma, the rescue guys, blah, blah, blah. But I said, if I ever get over there, I'm going to try to change the stigma of it, And I think I worked at 11s till 92, I think 92, 91 or 92. Dave Albin was the captain. And he said, "You want to come over to the rescue?" I said, "Cap, I would love to come over." And I worked under him for a little while. He ended up getting promoted to district chief. Bobby Corbiel, who was my lieutenant at Engine 11, got promoted to captain. And I worked under Bobby for years at the rescue, taught me so much. Another guy, Joe Flanagan. Joe's a retired captain out of the rescue, one of the most brilliant firefighters that I have ever met. Joe was so beyond his time. You know, I used to say Captain Flanagan is spiritual. He can see, see things happening. But it was just, he had time and experience. And another guy, Walter Hebert, Skip Hebert, another great officer that I worked for. Jim Burkish. Jim Burkish was the chief of the department. I'm biased. Jim's my cousin, but Jim got me involved when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to go visit him when I was 13, 14 years old, ride down the firehouse. And he gave me my love for the job. So,
wow,
yeah,
that's amazing. You had some really amazing people that
I did.
just
I really
just
did.
kept that fire inside of you and just kept you going. And through your career, you stayed on the rescue. So there was no want to ever. What's the allure for people who don't know? What is it for the rescue? What keeps you on that assignment?
I think it's because you have no idea what's going to happen. You know, you're on a gas call. You clear up the gas call. You're walking back to the truck. Fire alarm rescue 1. Yeah, stand by for a call. Okay. All of a sudden it comes out. It's we're going on a building fire, fellas. And then you have a working fire, clean up. We get done. We're on our way back. Fire alarm rescue 1. Yeah, stand by for entrapment. Okay. Like, what the hell just happened? We haven't been back to the firehouse in 6 hours. We've gone from this to this to this. So if you wanted to be busy, that's the place to be.
And for like the rescue, so take me through it. You get assigned for a working building fire on the rescue.
Yep.
What are you guys doing? What is your assignment? How are you
we got
operating?
4 guys. The 2 guys in the back go to the fire floor. They're, C and D. Myself, I'm rescue A. The driver's rescue B, Alpha Bravo, Charlie Delta. The 2 guys going back, they go to the fire floor. They follow the engine company in. Myself and the driver, we'd always go floor above. Okay, fellas, if it was a multi-family and I had heavy fire showing, I never broke up. We always went together. We'd go in, we go to the fire floor first, and then we go to the floor above together. So there was 4 of us always together. I used to tell my guys, grab a line, grab a second line. I had great incident commanders that didn't care. They said, whatever makes you safe, Pete. We would drag a line, just drag it up to the second floor, just for safety. Drop it in the hallway. Let's do our primary search, get it done. Come back. All right, let's do a quick secondary. Primary, secondary is complete, Chief. They're both negative. All right. Then we'd go down, we shut the utilities off, and then we'd start firefighting with the guys. But it's important to have great engine company guys that you work with and great ladder company guys. I worked with a guy for years, Jimmy Kelly, lieutenant on Engine 11. He's still working. He's a captain of Engine and Ladder 7 now. Again, another guy who's one of the bravest dudes I've ever met. We would always crawl in together. I always put my hand on his shoulder, say, I'll be right back, Jim. And he'd say, I'm not leaving, Pete, till you come back. And there were some times where I knew he was getting fried, where he had the line, but he would hold the stairwell, hold the doorways for us, hold anything. He never, ever, ever left. And he had guys on his crew that were hardcore. So we were lucky. And we were, it was, I say it's fortunate. To some people, it's unfortunate. we were burning back then. We had fires all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. You know, so you kept up your practice. You know, if you screwed up one day, you say, all right, don't worry. Tomorrow night when we come back, we're gonna have a working fire. We can figure this one out. Stuff.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's nice that you're in that time when you can actually, your skills are always sharpened on a tour.
Yeah, I was lucky. I was really, really, really lucky. And I was lucky enough to grow up on a rescue, you know, where they thought enough of me to be there. Like I said, I was a firefighter. I got promoted to lieutenant at that chief that I told you, Chief Monley. He says, I'm going to send you on the outside for a little while. I went up to Engine 10, Tower 3 on Mammoth Road for about a year. And then there was an opening at the rescue for a lieutenant. He brought me back. And then when I got promoted to captain, I stayed there. I got knighted as captain of the rescue, and I was there for, 5 years, I think, as the captain and stuff.
That's amazing. That's a hell of a career, Cap. The fact of even just the people you just mentioned, and they're such pillars in for our area, and have provided so much. And the guys are still working today, like you said, like Defina. We have McCullough, and we have just amazing guys who I feel like it's a lot of what you've done. Your presence of not being an asshole, to be quite frank, right? Because these guys are amazing guys.
They're great guys,
right? And I think having someone like you as a mentor really contributes that, because I know in my history, when you have somebody who just is an asshole and just doesn't care about people, or sometimes will show that affection, or sometimes might care about you, or constantly talk shit about somebody else, it rubs off on them. And then they become the same people. And then now you have four guys who just are the ones that nobody wants to be around, because they either talk shit about people, or they're just abrasive, or, just flat out just not good people. When you have good officers and good senior guys that say, yeah, we can still be badass, but we can also be really good people. Yeah. And that's that reflection.
Treat people the way you would want to be treated.
Yes, sir.
And for all the senior guys out there and all the officers, make sure you're approachable. Be approachable. Because you don't know the demons this other guy's fighting, what he's going through. And he may want to talk to somebody. And if you're approachable and he can, hey, Cap, you got a second? I just want to, run something by you. And, you just let them know that you care.
Yeah.
That's, you mentioned Nikki. Nikki took my spot at Fives. Nikki came to the rescue when I was there. Cool cat, great fireman.
He's an awesome guy.
Brilliant. Yeah. He's gonna go fire. But Nick McCullough loves his guys, and it's good to see that. It's good to see that. And when I see some of these guys move up in positions, and I say, okay, they're gonna make a positive change, it gives you a little bit of faith back in humanity.
Yeah.
And say, okay, the fire service isn't doomed totally. But again, the guys that are in the positions that are running the department now, I'm proud of them. Ryan's doing a great job. Matt and I worked together for 14 years. David Flurry and I worked together. Josh Guay and I worked together for a long time. These guys are great guys. They're good firefighters.
That's awesome.
If you're a good firefighter, if this guy's a firefighter, he gets it.
Yeah.
He gets it. Yeah. I always say, okay, this guy's a firefighter, he gets it. I can talk to him about anything, but you got, like any job in this world, you got guys that are, they're there because they love everything about the job except for working nights, holidays, weekends, heat, smoke, and fire. But other than that, it's a great job.
Now, what is retirement like? We were talking about that earlier. The transition now of not having that regiment. like you talked about, like I'm like, oh, I have to go on shift and, in a day, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to prepare my meals. I don't have to, I don't have to sleep in, an uncomfortable bed for 48 hours. And also just to get now your mindset of not feeling that you have to be like ready at all times, either ready for a call out, ready to, for your phone to ring or get a text message because something's wrong with the station. All those things are involved with it. How has that transition been now to like not have that noise? And now
It's getting there.
yeah,
You still like, whether I have, whether you want to call them flashbacks or senior moments or whatever, like I said, I'll say, oh shit, I got to work next Sunday this week. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't. We're a paramilitary run operation that for 37 years I was told what to do, where to be, how to look, how to act, this, and then all of a sudden one day it's just you're gone.
yeah,
There's no easing out of it. What I'm doing now, and I talked to Chief Cashin about it, is I'm writing a lot of things down that retirees need to do that they don't know about.
I like that.
Um, your exit physical. A lot of guys don't know about that. Take an exit physical. It can save your life.
Yeah.
You're going to get a chunk of money. You're mustering out pay. What do I do with this? How am I going to retire? Do I have enough sick leave? What do I do with my sick leave? What do I do with my vacation? My retirement, some guys that go through divorce that have to make alternate plans, guys that they don't want to carry health insurance. They want to go on their wife's plan. All these little things that people don't know what to do. So I've been doing it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months now, just writing things down. And then I'm going to have my wife put it all in order, and I'll give it to Chief Cashin and say, hey, when a guy's ready to retire, here's like a punch list of 20 things that
I love
he should look into, because it helps you out.
Yeah.
It helps you out. And, the 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th things are like, don't forget that, the department runs different things through the year, a fishing trip where you can still be involved, a golf trip, a retiree's breakfast, there are other avenues out there if you feel like you're struggling mental health wise, here's a name and number of somebody that you can call.
I think the hardest part there, Cap, is from what I've seen and heard, is the staying relevant part for people who retired out, because that is your identity. That is what you're known by. That is your armor. And when you introduce yourself, I'm a firefighter for Derry, or I'm a captain of the Manchester Fire Department. Like, that's your identity. That's how you actually introduce yourself to some people. And then you finish that, and you don't say you don't say that anymore. You don't say I'm Captain Pete Frangos from the Manchester Fire Department. I'm Pete Frangos. So it's right. So I think, like, I love that what you're on, of having that plug and play, if you will, of what to do when people retire out, and the fact that you're giving them avenues also of who to talk to, because I think the biggest struggle is the staying relevant part. And we were talking about it earlier, of when you leave and in 5 years or even a year, because man, we've been going through so many retirements and people leaving, and you got the young guys coming in, they're not going to know who you are.
Right.
And that's the biggest struggle.
I've been out of firehouse since April 1st. I went back for like 5 minutes because I had to grab something that I forgot. And there was a new kid. And I knocked on the door. And at the time, I was only gone for a month. And he was like, can I help you, sir? I said, yeah, get the hell out of my way. And you help me. I'll punch you right in the nose. And he's like, sir, I'm sorry. I go, buddy, I got more time on suspension than you got on the job.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's trying to figure out your identity, trying to figure out what's my purpose now. Like I'm barking orders here at the house, but 4 kids don't listen. They're like, yeah, okay, old
Yeah.
man, whatever, you know. Um, but I'm in the process of learning how to relax, learning how to tone it down, um, learning to let things go a little bit. Where, as my wife says, you're good at picking your battles. You appreciate things a little more. Again, especially with the medical incident that I went through, life is so precious. So, if the dishes stay in the sink for a day, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's just, again, you're like, who am I going to boss around? Nobody. Myself. It's the biggest thing is to still have a purpose and make sure you do things. Have some hobbies.
Stay active.
Stay active.
Yeah.
You know how firefighters get. They get, you give them a little time and we get in trouble.
What I'd love to see more of is our retirees, people like you in the fire academy and teaching. And because we don't have a lot of that. And when I'm up there teaching, I'd love to be standing right next to you and just listening and just having those young kids take it all in, absorb it. Because not everyone's going to know who you are.
What not to do.
Huh?
I'll teach you what not to do.
Exactly. So it's just, I refer back to Captain Clark because we all loved Clarky. And
Clarky was the
right?
best.
He was the best, but the fact that people got to have that. So when people talk about Captain Clark, we were the lucky few who got to work with him, or at least got to know him really well, and we got to listen in on what he had to say. And it's the same thing like for yourself. And my father-in-law, I'm lucky enough to be around my father-in-law, who he retired out of Nashua for, he was on for 28 years, and he's got so much still passion for it and information, knowledge, right?
Pick his brain.
Right. I'd love to see our students be able to have the same privilege that I have, that I get to talk to you and they get to learn about you. But, and the same thing with my father-in-law, Captain Clark, and all these guys who came before us, who've got some great knowledge and information and experience, but it's wasted because, the people who should be hearing it before they even get to the firehouse should be in learning the fire service. They don't get to.
I couldn't agree with you more.
I'd love to see more of our retirees to help stay relevant, to pick up a part-time position at the academy. And I know like there's a whole nother politic thing involved in it, but I would just love to see more of the people that really provided such an amazing service and who gave back so much that people, like, I guarantee if people were to ask, to take a survey in Manchester, they would say, name some people who you remember that really taught you a lot about what to do in the fire service. I'm sure your name would be on that top list. And we should have that information in the academy as well.
That would be great. I would even go so far as, again, you know how the academy works. You got to be an instructor and this and that. I was many years ago, but I would volunteer. I'd go up for a day and just a sit down, have a round table talk.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think it's a good idea.
Just when you're up there, throw that around.
Yeah, I like that very much.
You got guys like Clarky, like your father-in-law. These guys were approachable.
Yeah.
Like I said, you have to be approachable. You want these kids to come up to you and say, hey, you got a second? Can I just, and they may talk to you about a fire or an extrication, a medical call, something going on at home, but as long as you're there to listen to them and to let them know that you care, that's the key. Just let them know that you care.
Yes.
It makes them feel like they have a purpose.
Yeah.
Like, the old man really cares about me. He knows my name,
It goes a long way. Absolutely. 100%. It really does. I got to get something real quick.
Sure.
Let's see. It's right here because I knew I'd be talking to you, and it's just hitting right in my background.
Yeah, Vinny Toland. There's rumor that I'm in there a few times. I'm the Greek, and that Vinny is, like I said, I got I have so much unconditional love for that guy. He taught me so much, and one of the biggest things that I was proud of was that I earned his respect. You know, when you're an officer on the rescue, you have a big responsibility. When you're on a job as a firefighter in whole, you have a big responsibility. But you know, when a guy like Chief Tolan would come up to you and he always called me Lou. Hey Lou, I love that, man. That's awesome. And he'd say, hey, what do you think, Pete? And I'd say, Chief, give us a shot. And we always had a code. I wish we could still get a hold of them, but the recordings of the fires when he wanted me out of the building, he'd always call me. He'd say, "Come here on a rescue one." I go ahead, Chief. Lou, I need to see you for a face to face. I say, Chief, I need about 3 more minutes. He said, negative. I need to see you face to face at the command post. And that's when I say, okay, it's going to shit. We got to get out of here. But he was one of the greatest and still is. I stay in touch with him.
That's fantastic.
He lives right around the corner from me. And there's a guy that I can sit down and listen to forever. When he tells me his stories and what he's accomplished and all his antics. And I have so much love for him. He's the best.
So if anybody's looking to see what the Cap is talking about, you can find his book. I'm sure if you search Amazon, it'll probably be on there somewhere. The Maltese Cross, Vinny Tolan Jr. Make sure you pick that up. It's all his stories of his time on in Manchester Fire, and you heard it right here from Captain Frangos about his memories with Chief Tolan. So make sure you do get a chance to pick that up and give it a read. I read it a long time ago and I really enjoyed it, and that's why it's up there, because I thought it was a good read and has a lot to do with Manchester Fire. Not many people know about that book, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And if you read it again, there's a fire in there about some woman told one of us that supposedly there was a cat, an expensive cat, but it wasn't a cat. It was an iguana instead of an Angora. And my working partner at the time said, yeah, we're going in to get an Angora cat. And it was like a 4-foot reptile. And it's pretty hilarious if you read it.
I'll have to read that again, because it was a while back that I read that book. So I'll definitely have to pick this up again and give it a read. But I'm so happy I actually got you on here to talk about this book, to talk about him. It's that history of the New Hampshire Fire Service, and that people need to know about. And that's what this program really is too, Cap, is I want to make sure that people understand that this is what this is about, is talking about the New Hampshire Fire Service and letting people know that we are strong, we are alive, we got good people.
Absolutely.
And I want to encompass that. So anybody in the New Hampshire Fire Service or first responder field, if you feel like you need to get a story out, if you feel like you know somebody who that encompasses what Cap and I are talking about, feel free to contact me or have them reach out to me. I'd love to have them on the show. I really want to make sure that New Hampshire is on the map. And again, this is why I brought this program up, is because New Hampshire is a great place to live. It's a great place to work. We have a lot of great people and amazing positions, just even in our professional firefighters in New Hampshire, that work hard for us to get our benefits. They've been going through a lot trying to make sure that when we retire out, that we have the benefits for us to live off of. That just doesn't come free. That comes from a lot of work. And people like Brian Reel who is our president of the Professional Firefighters of New Hampshire. He works really hard. He's beating the streets in the Capitol and going down to DC, trying to get these benefits for us. And it's a whole line of people that work for us. And these are guys who are in the field working their full-time jobs as firefighters, and they're also doing pretty much another full-time job working in the Professional Firefighters in New Hampshire, trying to provide a service for people who are working hard, like Cap, who's retiring, retired and now needs that service. And, when I start getting up there in age, which I kind of am, I'm 47, I'm starting to think about retirement more. And, these are the people in the state of New Hampshire that are working hard for us. And for Captain Frangos, he provided almost 40 years of service, and you did it the right way. And you're remembered because you're not a shitbag. You're being remembered because you're a prominent figure in the fire service because you treated people right. And that's what New Hampshire is. We treat people right, and we should always be treating people with respect and talking to them and being open and having those open lines of communication. So when someone's feeling down, they're not scared to be able to talk to their captain, lieutenant, senior man, chief, or whomever. If you're feeling like you need to talk to somebody, it's a lot easier to talk to somebody like us instead of an EAP, because those EAPs are just they're sterile. They're a cold environment, and they don't get it. Yeah. And that's 100%. You're talking to somebody who doesn't know what we do. But when you get to talk to somebody like Cap, he's been there, done that. He'll tell you what's up.
Mm-hmm. And again, it doesn't have to be a dictatorship all the time. There's a time and a place for a dictatorship. On the fire ground, it's a dictatorship. But in the firehouse, it can be a democracy.
Yes, sir.
Come on, just give me your thoughts. Tell me what you're thinking and take their advice.
Yep.
I
do it, and as I'm getting older, I do the same thing. So like when we had a motorcycle accident, it was a fatal. It was, for some of those people, it was their first time of having that experience. And even though I wasn't on that shift with them, I was coming on and they were coming off. Hey, you all right? Was this the first time you've seen something like this? Yeah. How you doing? Oh, okay. If you want to talk about it, we could talk, like, literally as we're talking about it, they're talking about it without them knowing about it. We are literally talking about this. And, I know that was tough. Is there anything you were confused about? Is there anything? It's okay for me to ask that question. You don't have to go to your lieutenant, your captain, who else can say, hey, I want to talk to this guy real quick and make sure he's okay. That should just be organic. It should be fluid. Like, hey, you saw something really horrific, which you've never seen before, and you're only 19 years old.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this? Do you know the feelings you're having? And obviously we're not going to say like we're therapists, but we can just be like, are you okay? Just saying that is awesome, especially coming from a guy who's got an awesome mustache. If you say that, it helps a lot to break the ice. So
I think that's cool that you do that, Mike. I commend you for it, and it's going to go a long way. It really is. And I think what you're just doing, actually, I don't think I know, you're just paying it forward.
Yes, sir.
To what you experienced when you first got on the job.
Yes, sir.
And that's the key. Just preach the gospel of it's okay. It's okay to feel the way you feel. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay not to feel this, and just let them know they're going to be okay.
Yeah. It's okay to be vulnerable. It really is. Yeah. We're not robots, and we are humans filled with organic matter. And it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to say, hey, that really upset me. That scene was messed up and I don't know how to handle it, because that our brains are not programmed to be able to do those things. And I love that is on your mission. That is your biggest message that you're giving to people. It's not all the fires you've seen. It's not all the cool shit you did, because you did a lot. I love that so far our conversation's been mostly about mental health. And I think that's really important, because even going in and coming out, that's still really, really relevant. And you need to make sure that you're treating yourself right because now you're at home. Like you said, I'm at home. I got nobody to boss around. And if you come home from now, you've retired and you want your family to want you around. If you're not right up here, it's going to be a miserable retirement. Absolutely. And then we don't want to lose retirees as well.
Right. And your family deserves everything they've put up with you all these years. They put up with the the missed birthdays, the missed holidays, the missed this, the missed that, the missed that. So they deserve a lot when you
Yeah, they were patient, right? Our families are patient.
absolutely.
They listened to all of our stories. They worked, like you said, they've had to deal with us missing birthdays, Christmas, New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving. You got it. You know, they'll name it, and they've missed out a lot because we pick up extra shifts to put bread on the table, and they don't usually complain about it. So now it's their time. So you need to make sure that you're right up there, that you're in the moment. You're in now. We want to talk about being in the moment, being in the fire service and being that moment. But now we got to be in the moment of family. And so when you retire out, you got to make sure that you're actually there with your family, not thinking about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas on the fire grounds. It's over. Now you got to think about family.
I hear you.
Yeah, man. Cap, I really appreciate you. This has been a great talk, man. I could talk about more. I want to dive into some other cool stuff that you've done in life, but we'll have to save it for another time. But this was a treat, and I really, really appreciate you being on. I know you had your tea time, you had your rounds of golf, and then you sitting down with me. So I really appreciate that.
No, it was an honor, and I'm sorry it took this long, but I'm proud of you, Mike. I'm proud of you for what you do.
Thanks, Cap. I really appreciate that.
You're part of the, giving me faith that there are some really, really, really good guys out there, and you're one of them.
I appreciate that, sir.
Always making sure that the guys are okay, and
yeah,
I can't say enough.
Thank you, sir.
I'd work for you in a heartbeat.
Man, I really appreciate that, Cap. That means a lot. I'm trying not to blush here. I appreciate that. So this makes it all worthwhile talking with you, having that respect, that mutual respect. And if anybody needs anything, I know that you're on social media a little bit. Is there any way for people to reach out to you for advice? Or
do you have my contact number?
I do.
Like that?
I do.
If anybody wants to talk to you and say, hey, you think the old man got 5 minutes? If they need anything, please give them my contact information. I'd love to talk to them. And again, I just tell them, I teach them what not to do, what works and what doesn't work. But I'm always here to help, especially anybody in the fire service.
Love it.
I have a special place in my heart for each and every one of you guys. And I'd be honored if people call. I occasionally get calls. Once in a while, guys will call me from the firehouse, different firehouses. Hey, Pete, you got a second? Yep. Okay, well, think about this or think about that. Cool, man. Thanks, brother. I'm like, anytime.
That's what we're here for.
Again, throw it around up there at the academy. I volunteer my time just to go in for a question and answer, or a round table talk, however you want to do it. Just the young kids want to pick my brain.
I love it. That's a great idea. It's a great idea. I think I'm really going to try to drive that home because we need more of that in our education of our younger people coming into this who are learning to be firefighters, but they need to also learn about how to be firefighters. We could teach them how to throw ladders and hoses, but we need to teach them about being good people and what the job is all encompassing.
As you well know, Mike, there's so much to know inside the firehouse.
Yes,
you got to teach them how to survive inside the four walls, just like surviving outside the four walls.
100%. Yep. I've learned a lot what not to do from negative people in my life. They've been great. It's weird to say, but they've been great teachers. And
I said, those are the reasons. Those guys were the reasons I took the promotional exam.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to work for guys like that anymore. I wanted to see if I had the opportunity to get promoted and then try to make a difference.
Yep.
Right.
Because you can bitch about all day long. If you don't step up and do something, it's your own fault. So you got to step up if you want to be that change.
Firehouse cancer is contagious. You know it.
Yes, sir.
Guys start talking shit. This guy's going to start talking shit.
Yep. It just keeps on going.
Positive.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Cap. Thank you all for tuning in. Captain Pete Franggos of the Manchester Fire Department. Again, he said it. If you need something, reach out to me. I can give you some information on how to get a hold of him. He has got almost 40 years of great knowledge on being one of the busiest friggin' firehouses and fire departments in the state. Manchester Fire Department. That's no joke. Those are great guys there. I really appreciate you being on this show. I appreciate you all for listening. It really helps me a lot to understand that I'm providing the service that you guys listening. So if you're enjoying it, click like, subscribe. I'll keep going with this. If you guys are getting something out of it, it helps me to keep going. And also, if you're looking for a read, like I said before, The Maltese Cross by Vinnie Tolan Jr., former fire chief of Manchester Fire. There's a lot of great stories in here, and Captain got a little shout out in there. So make sure you are reading that. Pick it up if you can. And I appreciate all of you. You all be safe. I love you all. Mazel tov.
Mikey, I love you. You be safe, brother.
You got it, sir.